hey guys. What's up, guys? What's going on?
I could not resist. I could not resist doing that to you.
Dun, dun, dun. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-dun-dun-dun.
Oh man, yeah. I just couldn't resist. I couldn't resist.
You could, and it's hard to resist when you hear the vibe and hear the words, and you just gotta go final countdown.
Yeah,
that's how
great
we roll.
Song. Great song.
It's a great song. It's a great song, people. You should add it. Europe. Some good rock songs.
This is why I don't sing, because I have no singing voice.
I don't either, but there are people that says I do, so
that's all good. Anyways, how are you doing out there, internet?
What's up, interwebs?
That's a little tired myself. I mean, I literally got home, and as I was getting situated, about to get out of my Jeep and bring my stuff inside, Raj shows up. So it's been like, hey, let's roll with it,
Oh, yeah. Set up and ready to roll.
Yeah, why not? Why not? It's Tuesday night. It's Scuba and Ry. I, of course, am Steve Scuba. And next to me, of course, is Ry, the Ry Guy.
Ry Guy.
As we bring you our weekly commentary on video games and tabletop games and movies and anything else that seems to come to mind. Maybe even some random internet stories. Who knows?
Random ones, indeed.
Last week we didn't have an episode because honestly, I was in a lot of pain last week and we kind of felt we needed a mental day. So we decided to go out to one of the local breweries, hang out, have a drink, enjoy the campfire. A couple of those images are up on the Instagram. If you follow us on Instagram at Scuba Studio. And figured, you know what? We just needed a mental day.
Yeah.
And here we are. We're in episode 89 for our podcast. So all the fun times.
Closing in on one of those big numbers. For
Which
a podcast number.
Oh, yeah.
100.
100. We're going to hit 100 this summer.
Yes, we are.
Gonna be
celebration,
cool.
People. 100
Not
episodes.
sure how we'll celebrate, but it'll be fun.
Cheers in some way.
We got another milestone next week. Next week will be episode 90. 10 away.
And another reason why next week is special.
It's Star Wars Day.
May the 4th be with you.
I mean, that's the only other thing, right?
Isn't there another reason that day is special in a way?
Maybe. I don't know. Depends on. I guess it depends on a certain point of view.
I don't know. I come from many different point of views. Depends on the hour of the day.
Yes. Whether it's it's from a certain point of view. Next Tuesday will be interesting. I know I have an appointment at 9 a.m. to go get my second COVID shot.
Boom. Get that 5G, people.
I don't know, man. I didn't think Elon Musk was involved in this one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Maybe Bill Gates. Who knows? But who knows?
Possibly.
Conspiracy.
But yeah, I will go and get my second injection of the Pfizer COVID vaccine, and then I will be good to go. And you know the kind of cool things I could do once I'm fully vaccinated?
What is it?
I could go to Europe if I wanted.
With the final countdown. Yes.
Anyways, in case you hadn't heard, all the participating members of the EU have said that if you are an American and fully vaccinated by one of the vaccines that's been approved by the European Union, you can travel to Europe this summer. And guess what? All 3 vaccines in the US are approved. So I'm figuring once I get my passport, if I really felt so brave, I could travel across the pond. However, I'm probably not. But it's nice to know that I can.
It's the thought that counts.
It is. It is always that. Some other things have been. I guess that's the kind of the one thing. I mean, we're just gonna freeform it today. I mean, we got some stuff to talk about. Got 3 movies to chat about.
Series wrap up
For Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or correction, Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
The America with wings.
We get to talk about some epic, not so epic fights and fatalities. And we're going to talk about the Oscars too. So no correlation inside to both of them. But
no.
Strap in, buckle up, grab your drinks. boys and girls, and let's get to it.
Yes, sir.
So, Ry, what have you been up to the last couple of weeks? Aside from, last week we went out to do a Big Ugly Brewery.
Outside of shenanigans, nothing too crazy. Busy with work, busy with school because it's the final weeks of the semester. So, last week I actually did my presentation of the 21st century teaching technique, which was introducing fandom in the classroom for writers.
How did it go? How did it go?
I think it went really well. The crowd that I was presenting to was really enthralled and found my idea very appealing and one they would want to institute in their classroom. Because what I came through my research and finding is that, one thing we want to do to bring up new writers is to empower them through the techniques of writing. And a good way to tie it is to tie it to 21st century stuff, which is fandom. We're fans of everybody's a fan of something, regardless if it's games, sports, movies, whatever it is. And putting that empowerment in the hands of the student will allow them for a better connection to the material. So that's what I presented in that presentation. But one more presentation to do tomorrow, and then semester is done. So other than that, training heavy at work. And then also just relaxing on the weekends. I actually did a wine and dine with some friends on Saturday, and I am actually trying to attempt to, since I'm getting more free time, I'm sneaking in more shows, and I decided to go way back, not super far back with anime, but try to finish up Naruto Shippuden.
Shippuden.
Yep, I never actually finished it when it was on its runtime, and I have Crunchyroll. So 500 episodes, give me some time. I'll get through it.
I remember I was real big into Naruto a number of years, and I kind of just fell out of it. I think I got to the point I was reading the manga and then read through the manga.
Yep.
And I was just like, okay, this isn't holding my interest anymore. But hey, if you're going back and checking it out, it does have some really cool stories, some really over the top shenanigans.
Oh yeah, it does. It does.
Especially when you get into the anime, because the anime has so many more episodes because it was broadcast on television, so they had to have filler episodes. They had to stretch out certain stories from the manga, and it was just like, really, guys?
Yeah, that's one thing about anime is sometimes when it catches up with the manga, they have to create some fillers, and I know Naruto has a lot of those. Especially
hold the presses here in the chat. Mayflower, what? I'm just seeing this now. I just got to draw the attention to the chat and be like, wait, you got congratulations, Mayflower. That is awesome.
Awesome sauce. That is great.
In case for those you're not sure or you're not watching the chat like we are, one of my moderators, Mayflower, wonderful young girl, she got surprised with a car today.
Congratulations.
It's like, booyah. Hopefully it's a Wrangler. But I'm biased. But hey, why not?
Are you sure, biased? Are you sure? Let's look in the driveway and find out the truth.
Maybe a little bit.
But anyways, congrats, May. It's always good to get your first vehicle. Mine's used to wink at people. Not going to go into the story about that, but it did. But rewind.
Yeah, we got that. It's like, what?
Okay. So, yep, I'm going to try to work my way through Naruto, but other than that, it's new season of My Hero, so I'm working through that new season. So I worked through that over the weekend, and I am watching this other show on HBO Max called Warrior, which is really, really good.
What is Warrior about?
It focuses on the Chinese immigration in the late 1900s to San Francisco, and it's actually based on Bruce Lee's writings. So it focuses in San Francisco and deals with all the hostilities that Americans had towards the Chinese. So it's there's a very level and layered with characters, but the great thing is the action in that show because it deals with the Chinese mobs that are controlling Chinatown at that time. So yeah.
Fascinating.
2 seasons, and HBO Max actually picked it up for a third. So, because it was originally on Cinemax, they canceled it after 2, and the fan base pushed the limit, and HBO Max is going to do and produce a third season. So,
yay! What a world we live in. We're the vocal minority because big corporations do bow down to their.
Oh yeah, but yeah,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Other than that, that's pretty much it. And games, which we'll get to later.
Yes, we'll get to the games. I actually last week and this week is actually out doing work, so to speak. My dad called me up and said, "Hey, what you doing?" I said, "Not much." He goes, "You want to do a job?" Like, sure. I mean, I'm getting a little sick and tired of being sitting in the home all the time. You know, gained like freaking ridiculous amounts of weight over the last year of COVID, but got out, helped him work on a couple of decks. Had a friend of a coworker. My stepmom's coworker, her sister wanted to have some stuff done. So we're like, yeah, okay, cool. So it was like you build a little 8x8 deck, and then on the back add 6 feet to a back deck. It's like, oh, cool. Took us a couple of days. I was in a lot of pain because I hadn't done trade work in years. You get out there to last Tuesday, I was in a bad place.
Yep, you were
Yeah, I had sunburn, sun sickness, all the things. And then we finished the job, and then it's like, okay. And then yesterday, I was out grocery shopping with my daughter because, you know, it's kind of bored, and you know what? And my dad calls and says, "Hey, what you doing tomorrow?" I said, "I'm probably getting ready for the podcast. What else?" "Hey, you want to do a job?" I'm like, okay, what's up? She wants to add another 6 feet to her deck. Great. So we get there today, right? And it's like, okay. And today I actually feel great. I feel good after that last week and get back into that being outdoor. I actually did
those muscles working.
Yeah, I did some yard work over the weekend. You know, I was actually trying to, recapitalize on not venturing outside. So it was kind of fun. But we get out there today and we get the framing set up for this next 6 foot section. And as I'm getting ready to cut the deck boards, my dad's like, "Oh, whoa, wait." I'm like, "What?" It's not going to be big enough. What?
Not big enough.
So she bought this table that's going to go on there, and it doesn't quite fit on 6x12. So it's like, all right, so what do we do? Well, we're going to add another 6 feet. Oh, great. So we added another 12 foot by 6 foot on top of this. So she got this 12 foot by 12 foot square for her table. It would be perfect. But
that's what she's asking.
But it was one of those wonderful things. It was like a 1 day job turned into a 2 day job. But I miss doing trade work. When I got out of the Marines and came back here to the East Coast, came back to Virginia, I got into doing trade work, carpentry, and I really enjoyed it. Aside from, foot injury, which that's a whole nother thing. Mm-hmm. But I miss doing trade work. I like working with my hands. I like working outdoors. Funny fact, I actually hate being inside all the time.
That is
I hate not being able to wander. I am one of those, I like to wander.
It's very ironic.
It is, isn't it? I mean, you've known me all the time. You know me. I've been in IT. I've been in computers. I've been doing tech support. Yeah. All this other stuff. Job descriptions that define you to be tied to a chair, tied to a keyboard, and on the phone talking to somebody in some far off part of the country. And I hate being inside. I hate not wandering.
Venture.
I love to wander. I love to roam. I love walkabouts. Walkabouts are my favorite thing. And hey, Debbie.
Yeah, she's like, "Come build my porch."
My dad's doing good. Thank you for asking. He's actually doing really good overall. I mean, he's essentially retired now because he's full disability and his military retirement, but he's still vertical. He's still kind of back and forth. I mean, when I was a kid, he and I did not have a great relationship. It wasn't until after I did my time in service and came back that he and I actually started getting along better. And now we have a great kind of second hand. It's actually kind of frustrating for my son because he came out to work a job with us once, and my dad and I are back and forth. We know where we are, what we're doing, and just great shorthand on doing projects. And my son's sitting here like the meme with the question marks all floating around his head. He's just all kinds of
yeah, he'd be like, "Wait, what? I don't understand this lingo."
And it's like even today, it's like, yeah, well, wait a minute. If you don't need this, do you mean that? He goes, "Oh, good catch." It was like, well, how what should we do here? Well, if we do this, then it'll flow better that way. It's like, oh, good idea. It's just like, it's great. It really is kind of fun working with my dad, and I mean, he's been very supportive of me during this whole COVID stuff, so I really appreciate it. And it's just, again, being outside and working with my hands. I love doing that. Ah.
Yeah, people are coming in, streaming
Yeah,
in.
by all means, please come join us, hang out, have a good time. If you're liking what you're watching, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you know what we're doing when we're doing it.
Do it, people.
Moving right along.
Moving on.
For some people, this is the only time they see me is sitting there do that. I've got a lot of friends' birthdays come up and wishing them trying to do more of the Facebook wishing people birthdays.
Happy birthdays.
Yeah. Lots of fun times. Well, you're the one with the notes tonight because I didn't get half of them done. So it's our what's up. Good. I've been working, worked outside, did some work on the yard, which is great. Going to do some more work, just more stuff in the shop. Getting ready to wire up some lights and stuff. But I think that's about it. So I think we can get into our reviews, right?
Yep. Yeah, we got a few of them.
We got a few movie reviews. Let's do those reviews.
Let's get them out of the way. Let's go.
Alrighty, review number 1.
Uno.
The Sound of Metal. Now, this is a movie that's on Amazon Prime?
Yeah, it's a Prime original, so it's on Amazon Prime.
What's this about?
All right, Sound of Metal is a personal story focused on it's a personal story of endearment, and it specifically focuses on a drummer by the name of Ruben, who's played by Riz Ahmed, and he loves and plays music. He plays music with his girlfriend, who goes by the name of Lou, who's played by Olivia Cook. And they play in a metal band. So what they do, they travel across the country, create music, playing shows, just plainly, they're living in the moment because they're musicians. So they go from, show to show, place to place to play music.
So it's a biopic?
No, not necessarily. That's just the introduction. And the crux of the story focuses on Ruben himself. After a particular night, he starts to have trouble hearing sounds. After he contacts a doctor, he finds out that he has a degenerative hearing loss, and that's where the film picks up. The film picks up specifically at that point where he is at a crossroads where his whole heart, love, and passion has been put into music for many years, playing and creating music. And now, how is he going to be able to survive without it? So the whole film focuses on his trials and tribulations, trying to understand his new life without sound. So what this does is it focuses on the point of a personal story of life's unknown. When you're introduced to this unexpectedness in your life, how are you going to handle it? What are you going to do? And when you're at the lowest of lows, how are you going to get over those hardest moments in your life? And facing those obstacles, what this film focuses on is the different bouts of angst, acceptance, and depressions, and all the emotional ladders that you face when you come across unforeseen circumstances. And through Ruben, you get this very impersonal reflection of your own self, because what it is that initially you think he's just a man full of anger issues, but the more the movie goes along and the more you understand when he's learning to try to adjust to this new norm, you find out that the reason that he loves and plays music ties to it actually saving his life. And then when he gets into this small deaf community led by Vietnam vet Joe, played by Paul Raci, that's where you get into that humanistic moment. All the conversational moments, everything is very genuine, raw, and real. When you hear them communicating, and they're communicating through sign language, so you start to see how Ruben connects with other people through his new norm. He starts to understand that there might be something more past the music and something that he can do better with in this new normalcy.
Cool.
So once he starts to understand his situation, he still thinks that there's a way to try to fix the inevitable. So there's certain things that happens in there where it leads to some unfortunate consequences, and it kind of makes and breaks certain relationships in the film. So once you,
you're going to go through that with anybody. Yeah. It's like when your normal is now changed, and you're adjusting to it, you're going to push people away. You're going to deny it, try to find ways around it. So and some
of the fractured consequences in his relationship isn't of his doing, it's of the circumstance. So even when people say they're going to be there, they're not, and then when they're not, they're going to be. It's amalgamation of events that lead into the last act, which it becomes a very poignant conversation of what it means to accept what is anew. So
Cool.
so overall, this film is a very simple story, but it focuses on the hardships of life's unknown and how you can endear that with certain people in your life.
Cool. So what do we call it?
Overall, this was one of a great film to watch. One of the unexpected gems that you would see on, online, especially that is on Prime Video. You can watch it for free if you have a subscription. 4 out of 5 full price. I would have watched this in theaters if I had a chance.
Nice. All right. Review number 2.
Number 2.
Demon Slayer. Now, this was a special engagement. That came out this past weekend through Fandango, right?
And it was wide release around America, but through AMC event, a Fandango event. So it is a Japanese anime, and it's an adaptation of the popular anime manga series Demon Slayer. I'm not gonna try to pronounce the Japanese name because I'll butcher it, but it's Demon Slayer. And Demon Slayer Mugen Train, which is the movie, is a sequel of sorts to the first season of the anime show.
Oh,
yes.
really?
So it's a 25. The first season is 25 episodes, and this takes place directly after the show, and it actually focuses on a specific arc from the manga, which is the Mugen Train arc. So what it is?
That's why it's called Mugen Train.
Yeah.
Okay, my peanut gallery is going to be done now.
But it focuses on the main characters of Tanjiro and his crew as they go to investigate these disappearances on a train. And through
people disappearing on a train?
Yeah, because they're disappearing on a train and they think it's because of demons, which aka they are demon slayers, so they track this kind of stuff. And then
kind of in the job description, right?
Yeah. So what makes when matters turn to worse, what happens is that what is these group of these young demon slayers going to do when they come across an unstoppable threat? So with any anime, you're going to have a lot of craze, a lot of over the top sequences, and a lot of colorful animation. So what you have there is the basics of an anime, but what it starts off as is a basic investigation with action elements centered around the demon slayers' main mission. And then once you get into it, it's very fast paced. It introduces it doesn't spend a lot of time introduction because that's where the first season comes in.
Oh yeah, so this is one of the things, if you're a fan of this, then you know what's up. Now, what about someone who's not familiar with the IP and they come and check this movie out? Does it give enough world building to kind of let you drop in on this, or is it kind of one of those, if you didn't watch the anime, you were completely lost when you saw this?
It does the thing that if you are familiar with any kind of anime watch, it drops you in, and then you initially don't know what's going on, but then it starts to lift layers through the progression of the series and or movie.
Okay.
So this is the same thing. Since it's a very stationary story, it takes focuses on one specific arc from the manga. It drops you into their investigations, and then all the crazy action over the top sequences occurs, and then it slows down into this dreamlike sequence, because what happens is that the demon tricks them into falling asleep, and then through these dreamlike scenarios, that's where you start to see the character building, the reasons that each of the characters are demon slayers and whatnot. So you get a realistic motif that brings forward the question of the heart. So once the movie moves past that, that's where you start to feel the emotional fervor in their action.
That sounds like second act.
Yeah. You start to see why they are fighting. Not only are they trying to complete this mission, but there is a purpose in their intent, especially the main character, Tanjiro, where every fight that he comes across is just another stepping stone to something stronger and something harder.
All right, so how's the third act?
The third act is a very much focused on inner battles, revelations of the true threat, and then also the emotional value that comes with being a demon slayer. So it puts a very poignant note to why they are fighting. The cause is not in winning the individual battle, it's winning the overall journey. So there are certain things that happen in the third act, without spoiling, that will raise both the animation, the action, and the emotional arc of this this specific movie to the point of when you reach a top, there's still another top to reach.
Cool. So what are we calling this one?
Overall, if you're a huge fan of anime, huge fan of the series, this is one for you. And even if you aren't a fan, just the idea of that action and escapism, you will fall into this world and enjoy it. 4 out of 5 full price. All right.
We're checking right along. And now,
boom, boom, boom.
Here we go for the third one, the one I'm actually kind of excited to talk about. Mortal Kombat. So this just dropped over the weekend on HBO Max and in theaters, along with Demon Slayer. Turns out that actually Demon Slayer and Mortal Kombat were actually vying in a legitimate box office battle.
Yes.
Over the weekend. And
Mortal Kombat barely beat out Demon Slayer.
Yeah, by a few $1 million. I think Demon Slayer brought in something about 11 to 18 million dollars for the box office.
19 million.
19 million?
Yeah.
19 million in the box office for Demon Slayer. Mortal Kombat brought in 22.
Yeah. So, strength of the fan base.
So yeah, so let's talk about the latest reboot in the Mortal Kombat franchise.
Take it away, Scoop.
So yeah, I saw this one twice already. So I actually I enjoyed it both times, but it's one of those. It's interesting because this is definitely a video game movie that really kind of sticks closer to the source material. There's been a lot of comparisons between this and the 1995 version. I think that's kind of an apples and oranges when you sit there and break it down between the two.
Totally agree.
In 95, the budget was $13 million. This one was somewhere like $90 million for a production budget. So this one feels more like a martial arts movie. It feels more cinematically. The one in 95 really is kind of campy and almost like, but again, we're talking 30 years. I mean, there's been a lot of changes in the demographics. There's been a lot of changes. Just the way everyone watches movies. I mean, if they had done the one in 95 rated R, then it probably would have come out a lot better. But then again, back in 95, rated R movies were kind of taboo.
They were the no-nos.
I mean, I'm sure if this, and then here we are in the 2000s when we have a runaway juggernaut that is Deadpool, and then Logan, and then some of these other ones that are like rated R and can own it. Then we have this, and this is pretty good. We focus on I like how they introduce a character for this one that is not part of the roster. And and this character is very much, I think you mentioned it before, this guy is very much like the audience representation, someone who is just thrown into this wild and crazy world.
Cole Young is his name.
Of interdimensional travel where the gates are being held as the prize for winning a martial arts tournament. I mean, this is ridiculous. That being said, everyone in this cast is really interesting to watch. I think my favorite has got to be the whole Scorpion Sub-Zero thing, which we all know about if we're a fan of the game. It's been one of the longest running kind of feuds between the two characters. And then all the other cast members, Sonya, Kano, Jax, I mean, just great kind of things. And Kano, he just owns this every time you see him because he is an absolute riot. Absolute riot. That being said, there are some points in the film where you really got to go, okay.
Yeah, there are some stumbles in this film.
But there are a lot of Easter eggs and great references. I think we were talking offline. One of the great ones is that fighting game joke.
Yes.
I mean, you all know it. You all know it. I know you know it. You played a fighting game. You get one move down. You trap the opponent in the corner. You do that same move over and over and over again.
Press the button.
I mean, they did that in this film, and it was a great kind of joke.
Oh yeah. So Mortal Kombat, just to lay the bases, it focuses on Cole Young. There's a little intro, but it focuses on Cole Young, which is the audience's avatar, And when his world is turned upside down, he is drawn into this outworld fight where he joins Earth's elite forces to defend against the strength of the outworld. That is the basic gist of the overall film.
Yeah.
Um, being it is an adaptation, and when you're doing adaptation, not just for video games but any kind of medium, you have to dance that fine line with being faithful but also telling a story. And when I watched this film, I saw this film not in like a typical 3 act, but I could see it was mixing in, meshing various genres around this central character. So initially, when the film is in the first part, what I call the first part, which is more of a lot of introduction. So you get introduced to a historical feud, you get a lot of plot monologue, and then the one thing that kind of bothered me, at least in the first part, is the expositional conversation. So it was very tailored, where you had action scenes, over the top sequences. Cole talks to somebody, exposition. Action sequence, Cole talks to somebody, exposition. So it wasn't really well developed in the first part with trying to tell a story, but it was just moving from beat by beat by beat, trying to get you to the temple. Once it got to the temple, I think that's where the film, like you said, a lot of the references to the game started to shine through, and you started to, get some more enjoyment because you got some introduction to additional characters. You got introduced to how the powers are manufactured in a
Which,
way.
I mean,
It's very like a Godzilla versus Kong, where they give a point and then just kind of run with it. But they don't explain it, and then some of the powers, when they come into, seemed a little too convenient. Not to say which ones, but I know which one I'm probably thinking of, but I'll leave that alone for people who haven't seen it yet. But that's the second part, which is chunk of the part, is the part where the movie starts to gain its momentum. You start to see that fun comical banter, like Kano's my favorite character in this movie, bar none. He keeps the movie riding high, especially with his a smart Alec talking with everybody. Even when he gets his butt kicked, he still gets up and starts talking trash. Just makes me laugh every time. The overtop action sequences are pulled from the game, so the production in those action sequences are grand. And then, ironically, in a way, you get better character building, because even if there's still a little bit of exposition, you start to understand the character's point of view, every character's point of view, minus the villains.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things I really am really kind of upset about when it comes to this is
Yeah.
when you play I mean, the villain characters, there isn't much to them. They're pretty much throwaway. And I think this kind of bit would do a lot more with a little bit would do a lot more with giving the villains a little bit more meat to them. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Shang Tsung is like one of the biggest bads in the franchise.
Yes, he is.
And in this one, he is pretty much non-existent.
No.
Now, if the plan is to set up for a future movie, which they're talking about, this is supposed to be the start of a franchise.
Yeah.
Cool, but again, not really seeing a whole lot of fun with this. I mean,
they rushed a lot. They kind of just the villains become what I usually call in my reviews plot fodder. They're just there for either to have a feuding force and or just be something that the other characters whack on. So
case in point, Cabal. Cabal has a wonderful story in the game, and this one you only see him introduced to push Kano into siding with the bad guys. It's like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
With those convenient plot twists, which you could see a mile away.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I liked Cabal. I liked the writing for Cabal. I thought he came in, he talked, and you really kind of enjoy. It's like, okay, there's some history here, and it's funny.
Just would have been like more developed, but through that bulk of that second part, they do great in doing a lot of iconography of the game without trying to be too blatant. It kind of just melds in. Some of the one-liners are obvious, but retrospectively, it does work.
I think the only villain that actually has the most character development comparatively speaking,
Yeah.
is Sub-Zero.
Yep, and he's the main villain because he's the one that causes all the havoc throughout the whole film, and that actually leads into the final part of the film where you start to see more of the fantastical center course, especially with Sub-Zero and Scorpion. You start to see the game lore start to elevate to the prime, and just like it does in the beginning, it ends in a mighty strong fashion. So you have fun situational encounters, but it is all action, but it's great action.
Yes.
And it leads to the typical heroic climax, but it's still fun to see what you came for, which is that fight.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the end, what do we call it?
All right. Mortal Kombat, it stays faithful, but it does stumble through a lot of inconsistent storytelling. I think it would do better if it had a better script writer, but even with those flaws, they're still fun to be had. 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5. It's still fun. It's still fun with its flaws. It's available on HBO Max for a limited time, but still could be fun seeing in the theaters. What about you, Scoop?
I thought it was I enjoyed it. I mean, like I said, I watched it 2 times. Once right when it came out, another one last night. So
I might watch it again. It's one of those where I just watch for fun.
Second viewing though, you get to see a little bit more things, but it's definitely one of those that after probably the first or second viewing, it probably can relegate itself to background noise. But I mean, it is what it is. Yeah. But while we were sitting there talking about that, there was some conversation in the chat about, yes, back in the 90s, there was another video game movie, and that was Street Fighter. With Jean-Claude Van Damme, and unfortunately it was the last film with Raul Julia.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a hot mess. At the time, I personally enjoyed it because
I was a kid when I watched it, so my mentality was totally different.
Yeah, I still have the poster framed up on a wall because that and that was it's in the hallway on the other end of the house. But I know you're looking for it, but no, it seemed interesting. There was several characters. Was like, really, guys, could you give a little bit more time? But again, the 90s was a lot campier when it came to trying to do this. Not to mention all the set problems they had on there. I mean,
Street Fighter, they had a lot of set problems.
It was just, Van Damme had the body for Guile, I guess, but he didn't have some of the Guile needed to be somebody else. So, but I don't think that's a property we're going to go back to anytime soon. I much prefer the animated version.
Oh, yes, I do too.
Oh, yeah. You want to talk? Oh, Mayflower, you want to talk about movies too young to remember? Here's a challenge for all you guys in the chat. Do you remember Double Dragon?
Vaguely, but I do.
There's an old school video game movie that was a whole lot of crazy. I think it predates. I think it
Early
predates 90s. Mario Brothers.
Yeah, it's about the same time. Came out around the same time.
But yeah, that one. You want to talk campy video game movie? Yeah, that'll do it. Anyways, what else we got on the docket?
There was a series that just wrapped up.
That's right. Captain America and the Winter Soldier, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, had episode 6 dropped and closed that out. And now we're in our holding pattern until the next show drops.
Loki in June. So we got a whole month.
Yeah, well, the Bad Batch comes out next week, so.
Oh, yeah. So you'll be busy.
But, yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier, episode 6, season 1 dropped, and it was very Marvel. I mean, let's be real. It was very Marvel. If you haven't checked it out, go to Disney Plus and check that one out. All 6 episodes are up. The 5th episode was kind of slow. Some people would argue that it's slow and didn't really seem to push the story along. But I think when you take it in context with episode 6, it's like they took all the they had this take a breath kind of moment. And then run right into episode 6. And 6 was just...
Yeah.
But I also think that will say it definitely feels like they rushed quite a few stories.
They did, but it even in the rush, it there wasn't like anything that kind of dropped. There was a completion feeling to it. So even if it was very fast and quick, it still was satisfying with
Yeah.
what was being told over 6 episodes. So, I had that same feeling, but instead of being too stretched out too long and boring, wanting more is a good thing. Which I like, especially with this and WandaVision, wanting more is a good thing. So that means they have more stuff to work
And
with.
apparently, there's a new Captain America movie in the works, Captain
Yes.
America 4, which obviously is going to have Anthony Mackie lead. What they will do with this, who knows?
But yeah, episode 5 and 6 in the overall series, they did a good journey of redefining, not redefining, but positioning Falcon to be in the new Captain America, and them capturing the true uniform of what it was in the comics is pretty awesome to see that in full bloom.
Goes to show you that if you want a superhero costume, don't go anywhere but Wakanda.
Yeah, that is true. Wakanda will get you.
will hook you up with
got you.
superhero costumes.
They got you. But this series was very great. Had very great drama. Had very good political intrigue. It built on the aftermath of the blip, and it helped flesh out the world with. There's a lot of other issues that's going to be bubbling over because of the ramifications of the blip. So,
oh yeah, we've had 2 series now that had some kind of ramification from the blip. WandaVision, it was all right. Wanda hadn't had time to grieve because she was blipped away.
Yeah,
she comes back. Everything is upside down. So she's finally having a moment to grieve. And of course, being as powerful as she is, it's definitely not going to be go see a therapist for a few months to work through your grief. I mean, she had to like possess an entire town.
Yeah.
Then with Falcon and Winter Soldier, it's the okay. Because I think that's an interesting dynamic. Is like we're talking 5 years where half the population's gone, and all of a sudden, all that no border stuff we hear about in the news actually goes, and everybody seemed to be doing pretty well. And then all of a sudden, when they reverse the blip, and everybody comes back, all of a sudden it seems like they brought every problem that was resolved over those 5 years back. And it's like, what's our first reaction? Push everybody back to their boxes they belong in and reinstitute all these national borders. And understandably, people would be upset about it.
Yeah. So
it's interesting to look at it from the, okay, I have a couple approaches how to do this. The Flag Smashers approach, which until they got violent was, was one thing. And then you have what Falcon did, what Sam did as the new Captain America. And I love this may be a spoiler, so there's your warning. But honestly, I think this is absolutely brilliant. Is when you have the senator telling Sam Wilson, you just don't understand what it's involved with having all these people. He goes, wait a minute. I'm a black man wearing the stars and stripes, wearing the Captain America uniform. Captain America, blonde hair, blue eye, institutionalized representation of America. And then you got Sam Wilson, who's the new Captain America. It's like, and he puts it in such plain language. It's like, duh. I mean, you're so high up on your horse, you don't realize how, this looks. I mean, it's such a great moment in the series.
It's amalgamation of everything that was building through. So like you said, the Flag Smashers trying to find a place for these people, and then you have the GRC that wants to do some way. So it creates that political catalyst and intrigue where lines are formed and motives are hazy. So, other than going violent, what happened with the Flag Smashers, there's a lot of pros and cons to their motives, but it's all a matter of what is the consequence with the clash.
And I like how even with the fact there's the new super soldier serum, Erskine's original comment for what the serum does to you holds true in this film.
Yes. You have to, it showcases what would happen if the if this serum is taken by the wrong people. And
Well, it doesn't matter what the wrong people, the right people took it. I mean, U.S. agent, he took the serum and he started to have some serious kind of issues where it was affecting him.
yeah,
I mean, Erskine told Rogers in the first one, good, great, bad, worse. Someone who it's not going to fix you. It's going to multiply whatever issues you have.
yeah, it's an innate
Your moral
trait.
compass as a character, as a person, is magnified by this serum because all of a sudden now anything that would hold you back, you are not held back unless it's your own moral compass. And I think that's a very eloquent thing to remember for the whole thing. But that's my opinion. I think the moral compass aspect of Captain America and everything with everything related to Captain America and the Winter Soldier and Falcon and all that. When you look at the 3 films and then you look at the series, it's all focusing on what your moral compass tells you in the face of society.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, can't really add to any of that other than I like the show. You said everything I was going to say, so.
I have those moments.
No, but it's a great political. It does great at balancing in the politics of this time. It doesn't do the good or bad. Heroes versus villain. There's motives, and that's what makes you like or dislike the characters throughout the series. You like or dislike not from the beginning or end. It changes from beginning to end. So
yeah, I think one of the few lackluster things, in my opinion, is the power broker.
yeah, that twist came a mile away. I mean, just theories, but you don't really know until it happens. But it kind of was just kind of a convenient plot point to glue a lot of things together.
Now, I am actually excited to see Black Widow because rumor has it, rumor has it that
Valentina Allegra de Fontaine.
Yeah, that one, Val,
played by Julia Dreyfus,
Julia Dreyfus.
Yeah.
Anyway, from what its rumor has it, is her character is actually introduced in Black Widow, and was originally, and that's how the original story is. But because we know pandemic and everything else delayed Black Widow forever, we're first introduced her in Captain America Soldier. So my theory or my question, and what I'm excited to find an answer to, is did introducing her in the series come across better than if she was introduced in Black Widow per the original plan?
It'll be interesting to see because Black Widow is a prequel.
Yes, I think it's set between the events of
Civil War
and Winter Soldier.
The other way around. It's set between Civil War and Infinity War. Yeah, because it focuses on after Black Widow goes on the run. After the scene in Civil War, after she helps.
Okay. Cool.
So it would make, I think in context, it would have made sense to see her introduced first there, but because the pandemic can't really control that. But it'd be interesting to see what her connections are in that movie, because if you know that Thunderbolt Ross is also going to be in that movie too, so there's hints that maybe she is part of the creation of either the Thunderbolts or Dark Avengers. So that's the theories, people, theories. We don't know. So.
Somebody commented there was like, so Thanos was right. I was like, I don't think I want to give him any credit.
Nah, his motives.
I think it's your point of view. I really think it's your point of view, but then again,
Thanos, right? We can get in a whole discussion about that, but time to grab controllers and dice.
Yeah, controllers and dice, state of game, and we're already almost an hour into it. So, I think we'll talk about our games and probably call it because we don't want to stretch too much past an hour.
Okay.
So, but state of game, talking about games, all those things. Have you what video game? I don't have a whole lot to report on the tabletop front. The Shadow Watch actually hasn't had a session for a couple of weeks because I had to do a big DMV thing, and that was a royal pain in the behind. But if you want to hear that story, check out Sunday with Scoob from a couple of weeks ago, where Ryan and I talk about that at length.
Yes, we did.
Last week we did not have a Shadow Watch episode because one of our cast members, his daughter's birthday was Saturday, so he was doing the dad thing, and we can never disagree with that, with taking time to spend time with the kids and the family, because that should always be first and everything else secondary. And Challenge Accepted did pretty good. I mean, they got a little bit where they're going, so now they're in a lizard folk colony. They just walked in the front door, and we'll see what happens this Saturday for those.
Shenanigans.
Shadow Watch is at 1 p.m. Eastern here on this YouTube channel, and Challenge Accepted is at 8 p.m. Eastern here on this YouTube channel. So come and check those out if you want to see what happens in those stories.
Yes, sir.
Well, let's talk about some video games.
All right.
So, Rye, what have you been doing video game wise?
With my time starting to free up, I try to sneak in more games, and I have continued on my owing my debt to a raccoon in Animal Crossing.
Have you gotten anywhere with that yet? I mean, has he give you an option to try and pay it off early?
I could pay it off early. I do have a lot of bells, but I'm pacing myself with it. I'm building up my savings. But I managed to expand a museum. I am going to get a new shop to shop at.
Well, pay off the raccoon, and then you don't have that debt over your head.
There might be more debt, from what I hear. But anyways, it's fun. It's relaxing, going around mining, fishing.
This game is so addictive, and everybody's talking about it, but nobody's talking about the debt, the bookie that is the raccoon.
Yes, he is a bookie, and he tries to hide it behind that smile. But we know what you're doing there, raccoon. We know what you're doing. But yep. Other than Animal Crossing, that's more of a a relaxing game where I'll just sit and play for a couple hours and put the Switch back. But on the console front, Red Dead 2, still making my way through the good old Western frontier. That's very, very fun because I just love the realism and the dynamic that you can do in that game. Just recently did a heist on a riverboat, which was pretty fun, actually. That was the last mission I did. I actually started playing a new game on the Series X, Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
How's that going?
That is actually a very fun 2D game.
Yeah, it's a platformer, right?
Yeah, it is a platformer. It's a very smart platformer because you really have to outsmart certain enemy types in that game, and then it's very puzzly. So you got to figure out how to get around. And once you start unlocking more skills and more abilities, it gets a lot more fun and a lot more variety in interacting with levels because you can go back and forth in your levels.
Whoa! I think Mayflower's keying you in on that. Apparently, it's not one; it's a trio of raccoons in Animal Crossing.
Oh, okay.
That is some shady stuff.
Hey, so the mafia is out to get me.
It's not a raccoon bookie; it's a raccoon syndicate.
Syndicate. But anyways. Back with Ori and the Wisp. It's very fun 2D platformer. It's very you traverse. It's not you go from one end, point A to point B. You go back and forth in different places because the more skills you unlock, the more places you can reach later on. And you just got to be really smart. It's very tactful, very strategic, but very just fun. So, and last but not least, making my way through Middle Earth and Lord of the Rings Online. Still trying to make my way through Gondor. I did take out a bunch of Corsairs and their ships on one mission, so now I'm just working through the storyline, trying to make my way to Minas Tirith so I can help them fight on Pelennor Field. If you know the books, you know what I'm talking about. And that's all I got on games.
All right. Well, I finished Horizon Zero Dawn. First playthrough.
That's
unlock the New Game Plus, and if you've not played this game and have PlayStation 4, PlayStation's Play at Home campaign, unlock the complete edition of Horizon Zero Dawn so you can check it out. It's fun to just wander around in that game. I did see there was a trophy for completing New Game Plus on Ultra Hard, and I have been tempted, but it reset when you do New Game Plus. It resets you to where any armor and weapons you get as part of quest lines will be removed, but all of your skills that you've unlocked and whatnot are not. So it's kind of a do I really want to? And apparently rebalance the weapons to make it much harder to kill the machines, which I was starting to get a little bored with how easy I was killing machines on my story playthrough. But I don't know if I should go from one end of the extreme to the other. Maybe I should do another playthrough kind of midway, kind of feel for it. Don't know.
Do you do what's best?
But
You're playing another game.
yes, I started to play Days Gone. Now here's an irony for you. You came over and brought Days Gone last week
Yes.
for me to get, right? I go to install it, and guess what? That is the April game of the month for PlayStation. It's like, really? But I started playing that. I'll be honest, I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to be playing it.
Really?
Well, it's got a very Last of Us vibe as far as the crafting mechanic,
Okay.
right? And it's like, okay, and I'm getting through that first tutorial. But I was sitting there the other day where it's like, I had some time and I was thinking about just jumping into games, and I was like, I didn't feel like Days Gone I could just jump in and wander around. I was actually leaning toward Horizon, where it's like I could just hit continue and run around the world and be just fine. Maybe I'm not far enough along in Days Gone to where I get the same feeling.
I think you need to get past the intro, just from my own
Possibly.
playthrough. Just a hint, because it does open up.
Well, I'll get to it. I'm probably going to give it some more time, but that's pretty much what I've got.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, I think that's us for this week, to be honest. However, is there any real quick though, let's talk about the Oscars.
Yep.
The Oscars are your thing. I personally don't care for the Academy.
Yep.
I haven't for a very long time. But apparently this past weekend was yet another record-setting viewership for the Academy.
In the wrong direction.
Yeah, it's its lowest for the second year in a row. And it's like, wow.
Yeah, I would have, there's a lot of factors into that. There wasn't a lot of big build up to the Oscars like it usually is every year. Plus, with COVID, it kind of killed a lot of the movie releases from last year, so it was very slim pickings. Not saying that the movies that were there weren't great.
I think the best thing the Academy did was open it up to anybody from the streaming services, any of those films, because normally those films, like, oh, you didn't release in theater, guess what? You don't count.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Is like if they probably didn't do that, they would have not had an award season.
The Emmys handle streaming shows, yet the Academy is like, no, it has to be in theater because we're just a bunch of old snobs.
Yeah, it's very, very rigid, but they're starting to come to, and that started a couple years ago. So them opening it up even more, it's just the changing of the the dynamic of viewership with a lot of heaviness on streaming. But with the Oscars, the lowest rating, it's a testament to a lot of the pandemic, movie releases being pushed, and just maybe just the lack of enthusiasm. Because there was not a real big build up to it. Like there's a lot of people, oh, it was this weekend. Yeah, because people are used to getting it February, March timeframe, not late April. But it did. There was a lot of great big winners in there. Best Picture, which I predicted would win, Nomadland, but also Nomadland picked up for Best Leading Actress with Frances McDormand. Best Director, Chloe Chow, which if you don't know, she's also writing and directing Eternals, the next one of the 4 Marvel movies coming out this year. So yeah, there's a lot of big winners. Daniel Kaluuya for Judas and the Messiah, supporting role. Actress in a supporting role, Young Jang from Minari, which is another great indie film if you haven't checked it out. So there's a lot of variety spread out with the winning. One of the surprises, which you pointed out offline when we were talking about it, was the best leading actor role. There was a lot of assumptions and expectations that the late Chadwick Boseman would win, which he did a very great job in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. But when it was announced who actually won, a lot of people on the social media webs didn't expect that, which was Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins took it for his role in
the father, yeah.
The father. Yeah. And everybody was like, oh, Chadwick Boseman should get it. And it's like, it's one of those things, it's like, okay, what's the story behind why? I mean, I really, really want it to be literally, okay, the better performance.
Yeah.
Not, oh, this guy died, he's done all these great films, has really pushed in a lot of these different directions. I mean, I get that, but we're also talking about the Academy. The Academy has really screwed the pooch on films because sometimes they pick films to be winners because they're not comfortable with the film that the public feels is a better film. I mean, let's look at a couple of those things. Citizen Kane, for one.
Yeah.
Citizen Kane is like a benchmark for filmmaking, and it didn't win Best Picture.
No, it won Best Original Screenplay, but not Best Picture.
I think it was beat out by something green. I can't even. The film was definitely not as noteworthy. Like, the only reason it's noteworthy is because it won Best Picture for that. Another great one is Shakespeare in Love won Best Picture, but Brokeback Mountain was arguably the better story and film.
Yeah, and Crash won that year, which was a surprise.
Because the Academy didn't want to deal with some of the source material. I mean, this is one of those things like, this is the kind of thing, it's like, I don't care about the Academy.
Yeah, just to backtrack, Citizen Kane lost out to How Green Was My Valley. That's the name of the movie. So.
Really?
1942. But one of the biggest ones that is glaring whenever they do the top 10, or do a top 10 or a top 10 of, Academy going wrong, is the year that Shakespeare in Love won Best Picture over Saving Private Ryan.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. That one is the glaring one that a lot of people go to outside of Citizen Kane.
Yeah, I mean, Saving Private Ryan, I'm hands down. So I was wrong. It's like, who? Brokeback Mountain lost to somebody.
Yeah, Crash.
Lost to Crash.
Yeah. So.
Really? Whatever. Yeah. Whatever. The Academy is Academy. Don't really care. I kind of wish I watched the ones where Billy Crystal was hosting it, but, those days are long gone.
Yes, they are. But another good thing about the Oscars was 2 video game companies won an Oscar.
Oh, really?
Yes. In the short documentary for Medal of Honor Above and Beyond. So Oculus Studios and Apex Legend creator Respawn won the award for short documentary film. So that's a plus.
That's cool. That's a nice change of pace.
Yes. So.
Alrighty.
There you have it. And with video games, even in the movies, people, even in the movies.
Well, I mean, come on. Let's look at movie production right now. I mean, The Mandalorian is made with game engine technology for some of their set design. Seriously.
Yeah.
Really? Alrighty. Well, hey, thank you everybody for checking us out, watching us. You are all awesome and amazing human beings for sticking around this long. We really appreciate it. Again, if you enjoyed the content, enjoyed the show, and enjoying the podcast, please hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the little bell notification, and please sound off in the comments. Tell us what if you think our reviews were way off base. What were your favorite moments? Are you familiar with Days Gone and Horizon and all that, or you want to hear more about how our particular gameplays are going? All those things. Feed the algorithm. Sound off in the comments. Big shout out and a thank you to Sirenscape. Sirenscape is a collection of background music and soundboards you can use for your tabletop and gaming experience. We use it here on the podcast for our background noise. Hopefully it was a nice set of tunes while we were chatting. And scheduling stuff, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern, here on YouTube is Shadow Watch live D&D play with our party of level 9 characters.
Yes, sir.
They're about to infiltrate a drow compound so it's like interesting to see how that goes. And at 8 p.m. Eastern is Challenge Accepted, another live play Dungeons and Dragons game with a group of adventurers they're currently working through Ghost of Saltmarsh, the Danger in Dunwater module that's been modified for my particular world setting. On Sundays, so Sunday with Scoob. It's a 2-hour bit here on YouTube at noon Eastern, where I paint some miniatures and chat with friends. Whether it's in the chat, if you're a particular Patreon tier, you can have an open voice line that we can just chat about whatever is going on in the world.
Conversation.
That might be where we start talking odds and ends. As we could do odds and ends during Sunday with Scoob, because Ry is typically there for a lot of them when his schedule permits.
Yep. So free up a little bit more with school being done. So
that being said, you all have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful evening. Love each other. Stay safe. Do all the things, and we will see you back here next week for episode 90, where I will talk about how much fun it was to go to the closed down Macy's store to get my second injection of COVID.
Number 2.
And maybe we'll talk about my birthday.
Yes, maybe.
Maybe.
Star Wars, may the 4th be with you.
Good night, everybody.
Peace.